If you're even thinking about buying a home in the greater Dayton area this year, don't even look at properties until you understand the 3 most important things that you should know before you make that purchase. My name's David Moyer. I'm with Keller Williams Advisors Real Estate here in Dayton, Ohio. I'm also a lifetime resident of the greater Dayton area. I call this home. I always will. And I am here to make sure that it is the right time for you, whether you're looking to buy your first home or you're relocating here to the area. This is part of a series, so this is the first time you visit my channel. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. There will be 3 consecutive videos following this one, and it's important that you follow through with every single one as I drop them every single week to help educate you on what it's like purchasing a home here in the area, and you may learn a few things along the way as well. So stay tuned. In this video, we're going to cover some of the crucial things that are happening and what's going on in our market right now, and I'm hoping that this provides some really tremendous value for you. Now, before we dive into some strategies and everything, I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on in the greater Dayton real estate market right now, year over year, so you can decide if this is the best time for you. Right now, the median price point in the greater Dayton area is around $255,000 to $260,000, and that's just the median. You compare that to a year ago, it was right around $240,000. So we're actually seeing an appreciation rate of about 4.35%, meaning if you bought a home this time last year, you are experiencing 4.35% appreciation on your property. You're already building wealth, you're already building that appreciation. So waiting is only going to cost you more as those homes continue to appreciate year after year after year. And this is consistent in almost every single real estate market out there. So if you're looking at, well, what's the median price point in Dayton? There you have it. Also, the average day on market right now is sitting right around 60 days. That means it takes 60 days from the time that the sign actually goes in the yard before it goes pending, on average. This doesn't necessarily mean that the home you see today while you're sitting on your couch scrolling through Zillow is going to be available in 60 days. It just means that on average, 60 days is the average day on market. Compare this to last year, we were sitting right around 40 to 45 days on the market. So we are seeing a little bit more time that houses are taking on the market to sell, but not an extreme amount. I've been doing this for 21 years, and I recall days when houses would sit on the market for upwards of 120, 150 days, and I've also seen markets where they've sat on the market for no more than 1 or 2 days. So 60 days is a pretty safe time frame when you're looking at properties, but it's still not something you want to take advantage of and take for granted if you find that home that you're looking for. Also, our inventory right now, we call it the absorption rate. We have about 1.7% months of inventory. And what does this mean? It means that if no other homes were to come onto the market and homes were to continue to sell at the rate they're selling right now, you're looking at about 1.7 months before there is little to no inventory left. That is also a very low number. So keep in mind the absorption rate is something you want to keep track of. Also, our inventory right now, we call it the absorption rate. We have about 1.7% months of inventory. And what does this mean? It means that if no other homes were to come onto the market and homes were to continue to sell at the rate they're selling right now, you're looking at about 1.7 months before there is little to no inventory left. That is also a very low number. So keep in mind the absorption rate is something you want to keep track of. Also, our inventory right now, we call it the absorption rate. We have about 1.7% months of inventory. And what does this mean? It means that if no other homes were to come onto the market and homes were to continue to sell at the rate they're selling right now, you're looking at about 1.7 months before there is little to no inventory left. That is also a very low number. So keep in mind the absorption rate is something you want to keep track of. Also, our inventory right now, we call it the absorption rate. We have about 1.7% months of inventory. And what does this mean? It means that if no other homes were to come onto the market and homes were to continue to sell at the rate they're selling right now, you're looking at about 1.7 months before there is little to no inventory left. That is also a very low number. So keep in mind the absorption rate is something you want to keep track of. I can keep track of it for you if we're working together to let you know how quickly these homes are coming onto the market and how quickly they're leaving the market. Lastly, let's talk about interest rates. Everyone wants to know, what are the interest rates doing? Right now, they're hovering around 6.15% for a 30-year average and around 5.46 for a 15-year average. Now, of course, this depends on the type of program you're using, what your qualifications are, credit score, everything like that. but on average, 6.15% for a 30-year mortgage is actually really good. Everyone wants to know, what are the interest rates doing? Right now, they're hovering around 6.15% for a 30-year average and around 5.46 for a 15-year average. Now, of course, this depends on the type of program you're using, what your qualifications are, credit score, everything like that. But on average, 6.15% for a 30-year mortgage is actually really good. Everyone wants to know, what are the interest rates doing? Right now, they're hovering around 6.15% for a 30-year average and around 5.46 for a 15-year average. Now, of course, this depends on the type of program you're using, what your qualifications are, credit score, everything like that. But on average, 6.15% for a 30-year mortgage is actually really good. That's kind of the average baseline that rates are and have historically been for the past 10, 15, 20 years. Yes, they've gone higher than that, and of course, yes, they've gone lower than that. But on average, 6% is right where they hover, so waiting could actually cost you more money, especially if you're thinking about what those appreciation rates are doing and what they have been doing for the past year. Now, this may be a little bit different whether you're looking in Dayton or you're looking in Greene County, Montgomery County, Miami County. There are different ratios for every single county, but on average, we're combining all those together to give you those numbers here today. So, some of the questions you may ask: is inventory still rising? And the answer is, yeah, slightly, but we're not looking at a huge surge of homes on the market right now. So if you're out there looking and you're only seeing 1 or 2 houses pop up every now and then that meet your criteria, you still want to make sure that if the right home comes across your plate and you're ready to make that move, that you don't wait for the what ifs, because they may not happen in time, or if they do happen, you may lose out on the home that you already saw. And also, we're talking about prices stabilizing. Everybody keeps thinking that the prices are going to come down if the interest rates go up or if they come down. Prices are still very stable here in the greater Dayton area. We're a little bit more insulated than the East and West Coast, so we're seeing prices stay right around where they need to be, and we're seeing them still continue to appreciate even as economic changes go one way or the other. Also, bidding wars, are they still around? They are still around, depending on the price. So depending on your price point and what you're looking for, you may still find yourself in a bidding war, which is why it's really important to educate yourself. It's why I make these videos, and it's why I want to help home buyers achieve their goals and make sure they are ready when the time comes and they say, this is the year I'm going to buy a home. Now, one of the things I like to talk about is what buyers are getting wrong. I see a lot of buyers out there in the market that get things wrong when they go out there and they're not represented by an agent, or they're maybe potentially working with the wrong agent, and they're thinking that something is going to change in 3 or 6 months down the road. Right now, depending on the price point that you're looking at, if you are around that $350,000 price point and below, regardless of the county that you're looking in the greater Dayton area, competition is still really high. So those homes are moving at a faster rate than almost any other property in the area. So if you are qualified with your loan officer, you have your pre-approval in hand, and you're in that $350,000 or under price point, you want to make sure that you have your ducks in a row and you're out there looking at those properties and ready to write an offer with your agent and be competitive, because that's the most competitive price point that we have now. Now, over $500,000, those homes are taking a little bit longer to sell on average because there are less buyers looking at those properties, but they do continue to come onto the market. So depending on what your price point is, that's going to determine how long a property can last one way or the other. Now, some of the questions I get here are really simple. Something as waiting for rates to drop dramatically, is that something I should be aware of? And I see it happen all the time, especially with first-time home buyers. They see the interest rates right now hovering around 6 to 6.5%, and they know that their friends that purchased a home 4 years ago were coming in closer to 3.5% and 4% interest rates. And so they're thinking, if I just wait a little bit longer, those prices and those interest rates are going to change, and I'm going to save a lot of money. But here's the truth. The truth is, if you don't get in at that 6% interest rate right now that you could potentially get on a 30-year mortgage, and you're waiting another 6 months, 8 months, or even another year, remember that appreciation rate of nearly 4.5% is going to continue to rise in that price point that you're looking at. And next thing you know, the home that you could have bought today for $350,000 is now $370,000, $380,000 down the road. Even if that interest rate drops down to, let's say, 5%, you're actually not saving any money. You're actually paying the same price, if not a little bit more, and your down payment is going to have to be a little bit higher. So it's always a good time to get into real estate. One of the things that I like to talk about is if you ask anybody that's been in the real estate market for a long time, if you could go back in time to 2005, 2010, and purchase a home at that point in time when economic conditions were a little bit unstable and no one knew what the housing market was going to do, even if you knew about the 2008 and 9 crash, you would still today say, yes, absolutely, I'm going to buy that house, because those people that bought those homes for $200,000 and $250,000 15, 20 years ago are now seeing near record appreciation rates on their properties. So it's always a win. And if you wait for those interest rates to drop, you're going to miss out on some equity that you could start saving today. Also, let's talk about what happens in winter and what happens when a dead market in the more snowy periods of time. Right now, as I'm recording this video, it's February. We're still getting cold temperatures and we're still getting a lot of snow. But we're seeing homes still move at a rapid pace in this market, and they continue to do so. So whether you're looking to move now or in the summertime, the competition is still going to be out there. So once again, real estate is not a waiting game. Real estate is a get in and wait game. And what that means is get in now, wait it out, and you'll experience that appreciation. That's just something I want you to keep in mind, especially if you're a first-time home buyer and all of this is brand new to you. It's one of the reasons I do a buyer's consultation. If you're working with an agent and they're not sitting down with you for a buyer's consultation to answer all of your questions and go over all the scenarios with you before you ever go out there and see a property, then you're not really being represented the correct way, and you're going into this hunt for a new home without the understanding of what the consequences could be one way or the other. Also, before we wrap up, it's really important to know, especially if you're not familiar with the Dayton economy and the economic factors that influence the housing market in Dayton, is one of our biggest employers here in the greater Dayton area, no matter where you live, is going to be Wright-Patt Air Force Base. We have one of the largest civilian Air Force Base employee populations here in the greater Dayton area. And what does that mean? It means that people are constantly moving into the area and constantly moving out of the area. And what that does is it creates housing stability. So we're always seeing properties that are moving at a rapid rate, regardless of what everything else is happening around the world, because we have such a huge population with Wright-Patt Air Force Base. And that creates a lot of jobs and a lot of sustainability here for the greater Dayton area. I've seen this for my entire life. Like I said, I've been a lifelong resident of Dayton. I have never seen anything crash or go below what the normal economic standards are, especially when you watch the news and you consider East Coast versus West Coast. We are neither. We are insulated here in the Midwest. So we don't see those huge changes that a lot of people on either side of us would see on a regular basis or in a 6-month turn here or there. Some of the things you might want to say is, well, what happens if rates do drop? What if I do decide to make that 3-month, 6-month wait to see if the rates drop? And in 6 months, all of a sudden, that 6.15% interest rate that I was promised today is all of a sudden 5.5%. Isn't that going to be great? Isn't that going to save me a lot of money? And the truth of the matter is, if that happens for you, it's happening for all those other buyers out there that are potentially waiting on the sidelines then as well. And what happens when that rate drops? All of a sudden, the demand goes through the roof. Think about what happened in 2020 and 2021. When those rates dramatically came down because of COVID conditions, we saw a huge spike in housing demand. So much so that people were paying $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 over asking price just to get into the property because they had those low interest rates. And it was countless and easy to find a home, but it was difficult to get your contract accepted because of the competition that you had. So yes, you may have had that lower interest rate, but your competition drove that price through the roof. And you also may be thinking, what happens if the housing market all of a sudden starts to speed up and we see a lot more houses come onto the market? Well, that is something that is unpredictable. Neither myself or anybody out there can predict how that's going to happen. But right now, what we're seeing is that our inventory is remaining fairly steady. There's no shift greater one way or the other, which means those appreciation rates continue to stay really, really consistent. So once again, my name is David Moyer. I'm with Keller Williams Real Estate here in Dayton, Ohio. I've been a lifelong resident of Dayton, and I love selling real estate in Dayton, Ohio, and helping people achieve their dreams through real estate. So if this is your first time watching, once again, make sure you subscribe to this channel because next week I'm talking about some of the hidden costs in buying a home. And you may think, David, I know all of these hidden costs, but one of them actually has nothing to do with the house whatsoever. So make sure you subscribe. I'll be dropping my next video next week at this time, and I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for watching.